Check out the links in my description for more information, for more resources. Check out the podcast. Check out the Facebook groups. Just check out the links. There's a lot of great stuff there. Comment, rate, subscribe, share, like, dislike, whatever you want to do. This is my Hatchhyack Negative Energy Blue Mill deck. One copy of the leader. Or Hatchhyack Hatred Everlasting for Oceanus Negative Energy Explosion. 4 Ascension Run Negative Energy Explosion. 4 Daily Defender Goku. 4 Gotenks Fusion Renewed. 4 Easter Pink Kai. 4 Goku The Adventure Begins. 4 4-Star Ball. 4 Power Burst. 4 Senzu Bean. 4 Dirty Burst. 4 Janemba Wicked Agent of Destruction. 4 Raditz Giant Force. 4 Majin Buu Assaults of the Agent of Destruction. And 4 Gotenks Absolute Unison. So we have 28 blue sources in the deck. You want to charge up to the first 5 energy. You want it to be blue because at most you'll need 4 blue for your unisons, but you want the extra blue so you can play Dirty Burst or Senzu Bean. Because sometimes you're in that situation where if you only charge 4 blue and you charge regular black energy, once you tap out the 4 blue to play a unison, you have no blue to be able to Senzu Bean or Dirty Burst. So you want to make sure you at least have 5. There are cases where you want to charge, where you want to pay more than, the specified color. So you want to pay 5 for Majin Buu, for example, or 5 for Gotenks, or 5 for Raditz Giant Force. Because you want to make sure that it has enough markers on it to survive, especially if it has to deal with like double strike. So keep that stuff in mind. And then of course, Raditz, our main workhorse. Depending on the situation, how you the matchup, how you want to play. If you want to go off defense right off the bat, like if you want to wait close to late game and then start Janembaing, you can do that, or you can start early game, drop a Janemba. You can do it however way you want, but you can start off with a Janemba and just start critting your opponent, and then see how that goes out. And then, once you have enough markers, and of course your defenses is up and running, you can start doing things. Because Janemba, for example, along with the Ascension Run, they have synergy because Janemba does have the ability to +1, unlike the other unisons that don't have the ability to +1. This, Wicked Janemba does, so you can do the +1, so you can use the +1 for send Shenron, so Shenron can restand, do his mill thing. So you want to synergize those two together. And then when the time is right, you can start using Janemba's +0 ability, where you draw a card, your opponent draws a card, and then they mill a card. So that will take 2 cards out their deck every time you trigger that effect. And then he does have the -2 ability, where he could, if your opponent has 15 or less cards in their deck, this card gains 15k and triple strike. So it could be a 30k triple strike. So you can use that as a win con in itself. Especially if your opponent, has a low hand size, you can take advantage of that. So it's nice to have a unison that's a win con in itself. So there's that. Dirty Burst, obviously the blue negate, but also you can use it for its counterplay ability to floodgate your opponent, where 7 costs and higher cannot attack. And usually that's how people try to bypass your leader's ability, is playing battle cards that are high cost. So this comes in handy in that situation. And then for like unisons, we got obviously we got Oceanus, which is a floodgate in general, but it's obviously useful against unison heavy decks that like to play multiple unisons in a turn. Senzu Bean serves a similar purpose when your opponent's trying to attack multiple times with a unison, or just attack with multiple unisons. Senzu Bean comes in handy in that regard, so that will help you out against any unison strategy decks. So there's that. And then we got the Kid Goku with a 4-star ball. So we have basically infinite combo. Remember, this only works on leaders and battle cards. I made a mistake in one gameplay, and I used it to power up my Raditz Giant Force, but it doesn't work on unisons, so keep that in mind. So used to using it. I mainly use it defensively, not really offensively, but that was the one time I was like, all right, let me use it to power up my Raditz, but that doesn't work. So keep that in mind. Typically you want to grab the ball, right, before you use your leader ability. You're not awakening with a leader, obviously, because we're charging blue. But you don't need the leader to be awakened. If you want card advantage, obviously you would be using your unisons to help you draw, and you can always trigger the leader's ability to draw. But don't want to do it too much because you can end up decking yourself out, and the goal is for your opponent to run out of cards, not you. And we have Hatchhyack to help us mitigate that. So if we ever need to put cards back into our deck, this is one way we do it. This, of course, will help us recycle our Oceanuses, so we can, try to use our Oceanuses to try to deck our opponent out, or at least put them in a situation where they won't attack because they have so little cards in their deck that attacking will literally cause them to lose. So then they won't attack. So you get all that benefits. So Deadly Defender. It's a battle card with barrier. It will come in handy to deal with certain problematic battle cards or unisons, because a lot of times this Majin Buu gets in the way. So you want to be able to deal with it. Galaxy Trunks could be a factor, so you want to try to get this guy off the board as soon as possible. And this definitely gives your opponent advantages. Plus, it's a blocker, so you definitely want to get it out the way. So using something that has barrier, they can swing at it and knock off markers off of it is always useful. Our main way to get rid of it is try and use our own Majin Buu to take down their Majin Buu, but also use Sen Shenron to do the same thing. We also have Supreme Kai to give anything we have double strike, so we can obviously knock off markers off the unison. So you could use like Deadly Defender, for example, swing with it. Supreme Kai, so that would be a 30k double strike, so it can knock off 2 markers easily off of the Buu. So because we're trying to prevent the Buu from being able to do its -1 ability. Plus we're trying to knock off markers, so that way it could make it hard to play Galaxy Trunks for free. So there's that kind of stuff we're trying to do. And of course, Deadly Defender on our opponent's turn is a 15k with barrier, and our opponent can't attack our leader. They have to attack this card first. And if we protect this card and keep it on the field long enough, especially if you combine it with Senzu Bean, you could pretty much make it where your opponent's not going to be able to reach your leader. We have Goat Tanks. He acts like a barrier, a blocker negate as a word, because he can negate an attack, and he's a blocker, so he's a blocker negate, right? Since we can't use the actual blocker negate extra card, we have a battle card version. So it's similar to Oceana. She can negate an attack and she's a blocker, but she has the added ability of floodgating. So this one, you're paying 3 to play it. You warp 3 cards to play it out, and then it has the auto that when this card attacks, place up to 3 black battle cards from your warp into your drop area, then choose one of your opponent's battle cards with energy cost of 3 or less and send it to the warp. So it could be used as spot removal. We can use it to get rid of something, which is always useful. But it's mainly to be essentially a pseudo Oceanus, because we always got to make sure we can block more than one attack a turn. So that can help out, obviously. So there's that. I mentioned all those. Power Burst, our free negate, right? We negate an attack. If we have 5 or more cards in our drop, we could take a card from our life and play this card for free to negate an attack, and choose 1 black battle card from our drop or warp and add to our hand. Our main target for that is Goku Adventure Begins. And so there's that. Since we're not really awakening our leader, our Goku kind of acts like our draw because it kind of keeps getting us the Dragon Balls, and we use the Dragon Ball as combo power. And we can use it obviously defensively, which is mainly what we're going to use it for, is defensively. If our opponent passes our blockers and our negates, then 4-star balls and a couple of our battle cards will have to come in clutch, right? Or just take the hit with whichever one comes out. Raditz, it's a blocker and has an auto that when you use blocker, it restands so that we can block with it twice. We use the +0 ability to draw a card and switch this card to active mode on the end phase. So that way we can use it as a sword by attacking with it, apply pressure to our opponent, and restand. Our main attacks are usually at our opponent, but there might be cases where you have to attack something else, where we mainly just attack our opponent, then do the ability to restand so we can block twice. There are other rare occasions where we use the -2 to bounce one of our opponent's battle cards back to their hand and untap a blue energy, for our, Dirty Burst or Senza Beam play. And obviously we like to use Senza Beam to untap so we can have 2 energy for our Oceanus play. Majin Buu definitely puts in a lot of work because he's both offensive and defensive, and definitely helps with killing unisons if need be. Because he's 20k double strike. He's also a blocker. We use his active main and -1 ability, of course. His active main, draw a card and then restand him on our opponent's turn. We don't get to untap energy because our leader's not blue, and we get the auto -1 ability when your opponent attacks with a battle card. Choose one of their battle cards and bottom deck it, which that effect is kind of productive to our milling strategy. But if there's a threat, and you gotta deal with it. But ideally, you want to not be in a position where you have to bottom deck something so you can take advantage of your opponent decking out, right? Because less cards in the deck, the better. And then we have Gotenks, Absolute Unison, Dual Attack, Blocker. So, of course, you can attack with it twice. You can use it to knock off, 2 markers off of a unison by attacking with it twice. You can attack and then use it as a sword, as a shield, to block, attack, block every turn. So you have that as an option. Has a -2 ability, so you can draw 2 cards in case you're going up against hand control, or you just need to make your hand thicker, especially if you're going for game. -3 ability, choose up to 2 of your opponent's battle cards, ignore barrier, and bottom deck them. So this is very important and very useful against problematic battle cards with barrier, or just some big 8-drop threat or something. It's counterproductive, the whole putting things at the bottom of your opponent's deck, but if you don't, you more likely will lose from attacks, so you rather get rid of those threats and then just slowly, mill your opponent out, right? And like I said, with Janemba, typically you want to, the closer you get, the less cards your opponent has in the deck, the closer you get to be able to use this to get them even lower in cards, and then have Oceanus as a backup, so that way Oceanus acts like a, baby Hatchhyack whenever you drop her, because your opponent's very low on cards in the deck. So that's typically what you want to do. And like I said, Hatchhyack, you're using his second activating, pay 3, choose 3 black battle cards in your drop area with energy cost between 3 and 7, and bottom deck him in order to play him from the drop. He has the auto that once per turn, when this card attacks a battle card, it goes back to active mode. So that gives you the ability to potentially attack 2 battle cards, or attack a battle card and the leader, so that way you can maintain some board control. Or attack a battle card and attack a unit, so you get the idea. So it's just essentially it has dual attack as long as you attack a battle card first. So we can take advantage of that. And that's the end of the video.